Previously, we have seen how to add like fractions, that is, fractions with the same denominator. So, for example, we could add 3/7 plus 5/7 plus 2/7. We keep the denominator the same and add up the numerators. So this adds up to 10/7. However, we have not yet seen how to add fractions with different denominators. So, for example, we haven't seen how to add 7/3 plus 7/5 plus 7/2. It would not make sense to add the denominators. Why not? Because adding up the number of pieces our unit is cut into doesn't really give us anything. If at any point you ever find yourself adding together denominators, something is wrong. The short version of how to add fractions that have different denominators is we never add fractions that have different denominators. If we're presented with fractions that have different denominators that we want to add, we rewrite them so they have the same denominator. So our original fractions in our example are 7/3, 7/5, and 7/2. Now these are relatively small numbers, so I feel like I can get lazy and just multiply them together. In fact, these are all prime, so this turns out to give me my least common multiple anyway. If the result is pretty small anyway, it's not necessary to make a career out of having the smallest possible denominator. So let's see, I multiplied 3 times 10, 5 times 6, 2 times, you may wish to do division for this. 30 divided by 2 is 15. So we're multiplying 2 times 15. If we're multiplying 3 times 10, we must also multiply 7 times 10. So 70. If we're multiplying 5 times 6, we must also multiply 7 times 6. So 42. If we're multiplying 2 times 15, we must also multiply 7 times 15. That looks like a job for a calculator. 7 times 15 is 105. So our original problem, 7/3 plus 7/5 plus 7/2, can be rewritten as 70/30 plus 42/30 plus 105/30, which gives us, let's see, denominator is going to be 30, of course, and the numerator will be 70 plus 42 plus 105. We can use a calculator for that adding up, but just for the sake of the example, I'm going to write these in a column. 70, 42, 105. We get 7, 11, 2. So we end up with 217/30. Now we may wish to simplify this if we can. In order to simplify this, we need to find any common factors of the numerator and denominator. But the denominator, that's easy to factor, right? So we just need to see if any of 3, 2, or 5 is a factor of the numerator. 2 isn't a factor because it's an odd number. 5 isn't a factor. We can tell that by looking at the last digit. If 5 is a factor, the last digit will be either 0 or 5. And 3, we'll look at 217 divided by 3 is a decimal. So 3 is not a factor. So it turns out in this example, we cannot simplify the result. So adding up these 3 fractions does in fact give us 217/30ths.